So in today's episode, we're going to be cleaning the exhaust. We're going to be cleaning both of these frame rails or frame brackets for the engine, this rear part right here that goes for the swing arm, undercarriage shield, and some miscellaneous things that goes on the axle. So quick tip, ask me how I learned, but go ahead and start with only one of these pieces, because the sooner you have one of these cleaned up, the better it's going to be for you. And you can even go in steps such as cleaning one piece at a time and then hitting each individual piece after each step. So basically clean everything first, one piece at a time. For step 2, go ahead and start spraying stuff down and start rubbing it with the brush or something, and then just go to painting, because you minimize the amount of time wasted. So now that you have all your components cleaned up and they're looking a little bit more fresh, you can go ahead and start hitting with some aluminum brightener or maybe some grease stripper, or I don't know, anything like that. Purple power even works. I'm going to be hitting it with aluminum brightener so you can watch the transformation of how these pieces go from just a little bit rusty to a little less rusty. All right guys, here's what we have as the ending results. So here's that rear joint. Turned out pretty nicely. The bolt I just kind of sprayed down just for fun. Engine holder pieces look really nice. These two look really nice. That's for the bolts right here for these two pieces, and that holds the top of the engine. These two are on the rear axle, and this I wasn't really worried about because I'm still going to be painting this black and nobody sees it anyway. But as far as the exhaust goes, most of the parts I cleaned, but for some reason I couldn't get these parts off. Like, it's just mud that really kind of stuck to it. I'm gonna try to give it a few more brushes, but I don't know, we'll see if it comes off or not. But so far, here's what we have. So it looks pretty nice. So next, what's in my plans is to carry the whole four-wheeler down this way, and I'm wanting to sand that down, maybe paint it black, sand that down, the oil reservoir, and I want to take off the front control arms maybe, or just tape everything off, I don't know, we'll see, and spray that around. But so far, this thing's looking a lot better, a lot cleaner, definitely a lot happier with how it's turning out. Ooh, and this plate right here that goes on the exhaust over there, probably going to be painting it black, but I also gave it the funny idea of painting it silver, just because it's going to kind of, shine a little more. But yeah, for now, I'm just going to carry the quad over to this way and continue with, whatever I was going to do. All right, so just to save you guys the pain, I went ahead and sanded this little oil reservoir down so it looks a lot better. I decided to just leave this alone because you can't see it anyway, and I don't want to mess with the air restrictions, so I'm just going to leave that alone on its own. Went ahead and cleaned up the frame some more and cleaned up this reservoir even on the back, so looking a lot better. So I'm going to put all of that back into place right now, and I really want to get started on cleaning the engine because this just looks horrible. I mean, it hasn't literally ever been cleaned. All that's been done is just demolished. Actually, on second thought, I'm gonna go ahead and get to these control arms just because I really want to get done and over with the painting aspects of this whole build. And then after that, I can get back into, cleaning stuff and all of that good stuff. So I'm pretty sure that I can just unbolt these A-arms from their bolts, from their places, and I can just go ahead and move them out, kind of block off the whole four-wheeler, and start painting down these A-arms without removing them all the way. And I mean, I'm gonna have to unbolt these brake lines and stuff, but I'm not gonna be disconnecting them from the actual knuckle. I'm just gonna leave them in there, kind of swing them out, block everything else off, like tape it off, and I guess just go from there, because I don't know, I think it's just too much work to remove the whole bushing or ball joint over here, so I'm just gonna leave those in place. All right, so I went ahead and sanded it down, cleaned it all up, and I put a little paper behind the frame, or I mean in front of the frame, but behind the control arms, just so that I can paint them. And I also want to mask off the knuckle right there, just so nothing gets there. But anyway, I'm going to throw you guys into a time lapse, and I'll see you guys when I'm done. As you guys can see, it's pretty dark. and this is what keeps happening. But I got the control arms painted also the front frame, and that's also why I wanted to remove the control arms, because I didn't want them to be in the way, and I wanted to also paint the frame. Basically, when I was going to paint the control arms, I didn't want to also paint the frame, so that's why it was just easier to take them off. Anyhow, I also got this thing cleaned up, the oil reservoir, but I think I showed you guys that already. Left that alone. So at this point, I'm ready to put this thing back together. This thing's all ready for assembly, and let's see what this thing looks like. Oh, one more other thing. I also painted this axle. I painted it black. I didn't touch it right here where there's like slots and stuff, and I didn't touch it where there's supposed to be grease. Just painted it over there. I'm also going to be taking this red part off. I just put it on for the time being, but that's going to be back to red. So things ready to go back together now. All right, you guys, here we go. The A-arms are back on the four-wheeler. Frame is painted, A-arms are painted, everything's back on. That bottom left A-arm was such a pain in the butt to put on. Like, this thing was terrible. Oh man. Anyway, got that done. Took like a half an hour because of it. The rest of the A-arms took, I think, like 5-10 minutes. Last one took like 15. But anyway, got the four-wheeler back into the garage space. I recommend that if you're gonna paint anything, move that junk outside. And then after you paint it, I guess you can move it back into the attic or your garage space or whoever basement you live in. So there's that. I wish I could say that there's barely anything left to do, but that's honestly not the case, seeing as how we have all these parts left still and those parts over there to put on still. And so that basically that means there's still a lot of work to be done. So we're not even halfway done with this. So initially I wanted to wrap up the video here, but if we think about it, what did I really do today in this video? I painted those A-arms, I put everything back on, and other than that, I didn't really do much today. So I think I'm gonna continue this video. So this video might be just a tad bit longer. Just for the sake of entertainment, I'm gonna go ahead and start getting back to work on this thing, and I'm not actually sure what I wanna do with it yet. What I was thinking from the beginning is putting the bumper on first, and then moving towards the back over here, putting the rear axle on, and putting that other linkage thing back on, but I'm not sure yet. So I decided not to bolt the brackets back up for the engine yet because I still want to clean the engine and the brackets are just going to get in the way. So I decided to just put this oil reservoir back into place for now, and as well as the oil cooler, which I already told you guys that I'm not going to be painting, but that's my plan for now. Carrier bearing, and what I tried to do is put some marine grease in here, and I just put a tad bit just to see how it'll work because I didn't know exactly how to do it because, again, this is my first time doing it. And there's a piece inside of here, you can see this thing right here, and it's supposed to just shake usually, but I went ahead and tried to put a little bit of grease in, and now it obviously doesn't shake, and when you move it around, it moves around nicely and nice and slow. So I'm gonna go ahead and put more in just because I'm scared that it's gonna do the same thing as the last one. And I'm also gonna make sure to put some over here and into this bearing right here. Basically just everywhere, cover a whole bunch of area just in case. The way that I do that is basically just boop, that's it. And then just start pumping. I don't know if you could see it inside here. Yeah, probably not, but okay. Basically that's all there is to it. My only question is, when the heck do you stop pumping grease in there? Like, how do you know you had enough? Oh well, it'll find a way out. Okay, nice and sloppy. This thing should not have an excuse to bust. All right, nice. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to add it in over there. Actually, I'll do that on the axle. That's where I'll do that, okay. Basically, just shove this thing in. All right, that's tightened down as well. Don't snap it. Oh, one more thing that I'm gonna do. Take some more grease, put it on your finger, and I'll kind of slap it inside of the carrier bearing. or the, oh my. Basically just slobber it all over. All right, nice. So my hand is all greasy and you know, that junk's looking good inside of there, believe me. That's why my hand looks like that. But anyway, I'm just gonna go ahead and wipe my hand off this thing. This sticky situation. Greasy situation. And you want these holes right here, these alignment pins, to be sticking out to the left. Nice. Okay. Coolio. Coolio.
Seriously?
So I decided, since I'm here already, what the heck, I'll just grease up the axle as well. And you can see my phenomenal paint job there. You want to get the grease all up on here. And you want to give it a good layer too, because you don't want anything to seize up over here. So just make sure you give it a nice layer, nice coating. I'm gonna go ahead and add some more just so it's nice and lubricated inside of there. All right, so this thing's actually supposed to sit in here backwards. So I'm gonna go ahead and flip it over. And dive on in.
Dive on in.
So putting on that rear carrier with, you know, the axle is a bust for tonight because I realized that I don't have a C-clip over here and you need one of those, so. Oh, I was gonna give up for tonight, but then I was just kind of like, what else can I do today? So I think I'm just gonna put on the rear subframe or whatever that thing is called again, so. I don't know, I'm gonna toss that back on. You know, it's just this piece right here with like 4 other bolts going to it, so nothing hard there. Everything's pretty simple and straightforward. All right, so last thing I'm gonna hit you guys with today is this front bumper. I'm gonna put that on and we're gonna be done for today. Mostly because it's really tiring to work on this thing and it's 11 o'clock. And I've been out and about doing things all day long with this thing. I'm not sure if this is a custom bumper or not. I wanna say by the welds that it's too clean to be custom. Like, you can see that, but I know there's also people that weld really nice. I just don't expect the people that I bought this from to weld that nice. Mostly because I'm looking at the condition of this thing and there's no way that that is possible. So since this thing is a 13 mil, I'm gonna go ahead and give it that 1/4 mile Ooga Dooga special. Sick, dude. This is gonna be the only thing that's gonna stay on this thing. Nice. All right. This thing's really starting to take shape now because I have these bars painted, I have the front bumper on, whole frame is painted black, and the rear piece, I don't know still what to call it, also painted black, and I also painted the rear axle. And I'm also gonna be adding color to these wheel holders. I'm not sure what they're called. So those are gonna be painted red. And we're gonna have that red spring also gonna be repainted. And we're gonna have the strut over here also repainted. And I'm gonna chrome them out, I think. So in other words, we still have our work cut out for us. Like, still the wiring harness needs to be adjusted. All this little itty bitty stuff that I still need to just get onto and just tackle. And I'm pretty sure that tomorrow is gonna be the day that I'm gonna do most of it and really gonna get this thing wrapped up. What sucks is that I can't use this that I can't put everything back together. I gotta slide this back off, mostly because I gotta find the C-clip that goes over here, so that sucks. But other than that, this thing's really coming together. So on that note, I'm gonna go ahead and cut it here, and I'll see you guys in part 4.